Gentlemen, I suppose we have sad news, and I wanted to sleep on it so that I could give you the most chill perspective that I could, because honestly, after this news broke, everyone kind of validly crashed out. What is this news? Well, if you've been living under a rock for the past 24 hours and aren't aware, firstly, I admire your ability to stay away from the news. Secondly, Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed until the 19th of November 2026. In other words, that May 26th, 2026 date has been demoted back to being just a day. But before I give my opinions on this entire rigmarole, allow me to take you through what Rockstar actually said to us with regards to postponing this highly anticipated title by another 6 months. Hi everyone, Grand Theft Auto 6 will now release on Thursday, November 19th, 2026. We are sorry for adding additional time to what we realise has been a long wait, but these extra months will allow us to finish the game with the level of polish you have come to expect and deserve. We want to thank you again for your patience and support. While the wait is a little longer, we are incredibly excited for players to experience the sprawling state of Leonida and a return to modern-day Vice City. Sincerely, Rockstar Games. This comes towards the back end of a rather turbulent week for Rockstar Games. Earlier in the week, they were accused of union busting for sacking over 30 members of staff. Off the back of that, a supposed whistleblower claims that morale in the studio is at an all-time low. And while I don't necessarily have a soapbox prepared, it doesn't sound good. And to end the week, we have confirmation the game is being pushed back 6 months, and that news broke only minutes before their quarterly earnings call. So, Take-Two Interactive stock has taken a small dink, but nothing too drastic in the grand scheme of things. So, let's dive into the key questions. What does this mean for GTA 6? Well, it means we'll play it 6 months later, and it will likely be more polished. What does it mean for us? We'll need to find a different way to fill those 6 months. And are the alleged union busting and the protests taking place outside Rockstar Games offices what caused the delay? I wouldn't imagine so. They've pushed the game back 6 months, which lets you know that they need those 6 months to polish the game and make it as good as it can be. The controversy from earlier in the week, however, isn't ideal. But were I a betting man, which I'm not, I'd certainly wager the knock-on effect went in the opposite direction. Nobody at Rockstar woke up yesterday morning and went, I need to delay the game 6 months. The company's been sitting on that knowledge internally for a while. The only reason we got told at all was because, with the earnings call looming, they kind of didn't have a choice. So they dropped that information with minutes to spare. So what's the betting? The looming prospect of another 6 months of crunch, and yes, I'd imagine they're pretty much head to the grindstone already, had a sway on the whole union-busting bonanza rather than the other way around. Based on previous accounts of the supposed working conditions within Rockstar Games, I really don't find it hard to believe that it isn't as fun as a consumer might imagine it is. But let's not loiter on that too much, it just felt important to mention. If you'd like a more in-depth video on that, I'd recommend the one by Dandy Andy. I'll leave a link for you in the description. With regards to the game and the consumer's perspective, does this mean there are issues with GTA 6? No. I mean, yeah, but they're delaying it. They're acknowledging that. They need the time to acknowledge it, so they're going to take it. If the game was finished and pristinely polished, we wouldn't be waiting another year to have it. If that was the reality as of today, they'd be desperate to sell it as soon as possible. So there are likely problem areas with the game that need to be brushed up, and are going to need more time than the 6 months between now and May. However, is it justified to be disappointed that the game has been delayed? I look at it from the perspective of we've had notice comparable to the delay, so it's not the end of the world as such. It's certainly better than the thought of getting 2 weeks prior to the release date only to discover it's been pushed back that length of time. But at the same time, I think people are justified to be disappointed. The face of Rockstar Games is very hands-off with the fan base, those online, the community surrounding their games. We went a year between Trailer 1 and any other information. Then we got news of a delay, then we got Trailer 2, and here we are 6 months later and they've just told us out of the blue that it's been delayed another 6 months. It's very frustrating when the vast majority of marketing post a game's announcement is word of mouth, so regardless of what the community buzz is like, and it has been admittedly quite insane these past couple weeks, getting slapped with a delay has come out of nowhere. And it came in the form of a couple of tweets paired with a logo we've already seen. There's no new information to digest to soften the blow, and there's no promise of any coming in the near future. The delay announcement was purely to comply with the requirements of the earnings call. If you strip away any potential legal requirements, you still have a company that needs to retain the goodwill of the investors. So you could very easily come to the conclusion that that delay announcement wasn't even for us. We as the potential consumer only really had to find out because the investors had to find out. Rockstar Games, Take-Two Interactive, they both know there is a sizable pool of people, a massive pool of people even, that will purchase this game regardless of when it releases. So as far as their public-facing side is concerned, they have free rein to do what they want. And that includes, as we've seen, keeping us in the dark for prolonged periods post-announcement. So yeah, if you're mad at Rockstar Games and Take-Two Interactive for that, that's valid. The game has been announced, the consumer probably shouldn't be such an afterthought, though I understand the announcement likely occurred a bit earlier than was ideal due to the leaks from before then. But the fact is, the game was set for fall 2025 initially. Obviously, that's where we are now. The game is still a year away because it was delayed twice since, and officially all we've seen are 2 trailers and a few screenshots, as well as a bit of an info dump on the game. Unfortunately though, we've just been slapped with the news that we'll have to wait a bit longer again, and this time there is no olive branch to speak of. No screenshots to share, nothing. Not even the slightest distraction. This time around, the expectation is we'll just accept that we're going to have to wait another 6 months with no form of reconciliation in wake of that. The delay itself is not a big deal. When the game's out and we're playing it, nobody's going to be talking about how many times it got delayed or for how long we waited for it. Well, maybe they'll talk about that last bit. But the point I'm trying to make is to many, delays are easier to forgive. If the delay is incorporated into the marketing campaign somehow, it gives the potential consumer something to fixate on beyond the week in May they booked off and now have nothing to fill it with. And that's not a game of fault, that's a game of regard. So you can certainly see where the ire is coming from. So, to move to the next question, is this the last delay? There's no way of knowing. If we use the track record, look at Red Dead Redemption 2, it was initially announced for 2017, that then shifted to the middle of 2018, and before too long it was pushed back to the end of 2018, and while I don't like using previous release cycles and marketing campaigns as some form of indicator as to whether or not the 19th of November is rock solid, we won't know until we're there and the game is out, I imagine. I will say a later in the year release date lines up with maximising sales, because you'll have Christmas around the corner, people buying gifts for others, people who don't play games, have no intention of playing games, buying games for other people. And of course, people spend a lot around the holidays, so I'd definitely say it's a more convincing release date from the offset, and it's a time of year where more people can tolerate sitting in their rooms and gaming, I suppose. May's quite a warm time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, so it's a lot harder to sit in a sweltering room and game, so I was never 100% convinced by the May release date, so I'm fortunate in the sense that this shocking twist did not come as a surprise to me, and a fall release window as it's become known, thanks Americans, makes an awful lot more sense for other market reasons, so I'd imagine Rockstar and Take-Two will be more resolute in trying to retain that release date if they can. As for what we can do in the meantime, who knows. I wouldn't be surprised if Rockstar announced some remaster or port to tide them over more than anything, not because they're necessarily strapped for finances, but they've now got another year of nothing, and rumours have been circulating for months now about a Red Dead Redemption 2 next-gen port, a remaster of GTA 4, who knows what kind of low-effort project they've been running in the background. Perhaps even outsourcing. Does that mean anything is coming? Again, it's all speculation, there's no way of knowing, just like there's no way of knowing if this date is now rock solid, or if there's a potential for another delay down the line. As for further marketing, are we only a stone's throw from Trailer 3 or whatever it might be called? I don't know, but Rockstar and Take-Two would want to do something that kicks things back in a positive direction, so if they have something cooking for the meantime, we may find out soon, we may not. It's all very sparse, and I'm glad I only dip into GTA discussions every so often. But look, I think I've covered every talking point I wanted to acknowledge, and so I'm going to end the video here. I'd like to know your thoughts down in the comment section, of course. Be sure to let me know at length if you fancy. I thank you for watching. I really hope that this video was informative, or maybe you enjoyed it, who knows. I suppose it is nice to get an easy video discussing a bit of gaming news out the way before I set up this new machine over the weekend, and hopefully the content will improve from there. I've been in a rut this past year or so, and I'm going to use this machine hopefully as something of a reset. So be sure to go ahead, leave a like, maybe subscribe to see what's coming, share the channel with your friends, all that wonderful stuff. It would be massively appreciated, only of course if you want to do those things. And with any luck, I'll be seeing you all very soon with another video at some point. But until next time, please take care and goodbye.